Hello, my name is Phyllis Zimbler Miller. I'm here in Los Angeles, and I'm going to be speaking on the topic of using nonfiction theater to teach students about the Holocaust. Let me provide some background first about this nonfiction theater project, which is called Thin Edge of the Wedge, before I discuss how language fits into this topic. First, I want to thank Judd Angel, who went to school in Goodland, Kansas, and whose high school Spanish teacher, Mary Porterfield, provided the opportunity for this presentation. And Judd is so proud that she was awarded the Paul Simon Award this year. I grew up in a small town in the Midwest, Elgin, Illinois, where I was the only Jewish child in all my public school classes. I went to Michigan State University and I majored in journalism. And that's where I met my husband. He was an ROTC, Army officer husband. And we ended up living in Munich, Germany with the Army only 25 years after the end of World War II. As a Jewish couple, this was really impactful. It changed our entire lives. We came back to the United States and I got a job at a Jewish newspaper. Let me step back for a minute. My husband worked at the 18th Military Intelligence Battalion. His direct boss was the civilian Lucien Lutz Kempner. Lutz's father, Robert Kempner, was a deputy prosecutor at the Nuremberg trials, and he is the one who found the only existing copy of the Wannsee Protocol. That was the protocol in January 20th, 1942, in which the final solution was laid out to all the top people who would carry it out. And actually, the list concerns 11 million Jews to be exterminated, under the understanding that eventually Nazi Germany would take over England and Ireland and all the other countries they hadn't yet taken over. So while we think 6 million is terrible, 11 million is almost double. And also at that time, one of the other civilians that we worked with was named Henry Einstein. And he said, yes, they were all related in that part of Germany. He's Jewish. He got out of Germany. His parents got him to the United States to relatives in time. His father was killed in Auschwitz. His mother survived by claiming there was a crack in her citizenship, which helped her to survive. And we spent time with Henry, and he was very important to us. And that's why this project actually is dedicated to his memory. So we came back to the United States, and I got a job at the Jewish Exponent, and I was in Philadelphia, and I was an editor and reporter. And what happened is I was editor of the literary supplement, and I started publishing firsthand accounts of survivors and saviors from the Holocaust. Now, this was really not done at the time. I had no idea that it wasn't done at the time. It was just, I just lived in Germany, and this is what I did. So a few years ago, here in LA, I said to a dear friend of mine, I'm really upset that those accounts that I published will be lost forever, because it was before the internet. And though I gave it to a Holocaust archive here in California, Chapman University, south of LA, they're not really accessible. And so she said, write a play. So I wrote a play and rewrote a play and rewrote it, had actors do a reading to see what worked, what didn't work, and rewrote it a little bit more. Meanwhile, in February of 2020, right before the lockdowns, we had a pilot program at the Museum of Tolerance, which is part of the Simon Wiesenthal Center here in Los Angeles. And we thought, yay, we're off to a good start. And then everything locked down. So my efforts have moved online, and I now talk to people by email and Zoom throughout the world, particularly in Europe, about doing projects there. A Heidelberg high school teacher paid out of his own pocket to have the play translated into German because he thought it was so important. So those are ongoing efforts. But now let's talk about the important role that languages have in separating groups of people or in bringing them together. For thousands of years, many countries and the languages they speak have been often used to demonize the other. Besides just in regular name calling, but literally to have really offensive terms to use against other people whether they understand what you're saying or not. And the Holocaust is an extreme example of where using language to demonize people goes this way until it becomes so extreme that 6 million Jews end up murdered, men, women, and children. And also, although the play highlights the Jews, I do talk partly in my play about the fact that thousands and thousands of others were killed. The Roma, disabled, homosexuals, Jehovah's Witnesses. The target of the Nazis, their main target, were the Jews. They also took away the citizenship of Blacks in Germany, but there were not that many Blacks in Germany at the time. So basically, the Nuremberg laws of 1935, when Jews became not citizens of Germany, and this is before, World War II didn't start until September 1st, 1939, Jews were targeted very early on. The play provides students with an interactive classroom exercise in which they can play the roles of survivors and saviors. And the play teaches us that what ordinary individuals endured to survive and what ordinary people did to help others survive. The goal is not to put on a play and is not to make students become actors. The goal is to incorporate this interactive learning into classroom reading for any students who want to participate. The title Thin Edge the Wedge is a British expression. The actual definition is a minor harmful change that starts a chain of more and more changes resulting in dangerous consequences. Or in other words, ignoring something harmful until it is so large that there is no turning back. And as we can learn from the Holocaust, when hatred against one group is a widely promoted government policy, other groups may be close behind. Now, I am not an actor, but I want to read you a very short portion from the play of a savior, a Polish countess. And I published her account in the 70s, and it's always remained in my consciousness because I think she was amazing. So not everyone can be Oscar Schindler and save thousands, but she was courageous. So I'm going to pretend to be her without an accent. Can't do accents. I'm not an actor. My husband and I feed Jews who come to our door as the roundups continue. We give them money and advice on how to get into the nearby forest. My husband is able to obtain Christian identification papers for some of our farm workers, who then slip away from the estate. I live in constant fear for my husband's life, but I simply cannot let people be killed for the one reason, which is no reason, that they are Jews. I'm compelled to do whatever I can to save them. I think of the avenue in Israel lined with trees, one for every person who helped save a Jewish life during the Holocaust. There must be a great many with Polish names of many less fortunate than my husband and I, those who paid with their own lives for trying to save the lives of their neighbors, believing that we are all each other's keepers. And in the play itself, you will hear her own account of how she determined to save one little Jewish boy that she found hidden in an oven after a roundup on her estate. The little boy cried and said to her, please, saw tears in her eyes and said, please don't cry. I know I must die. And the Countess said, determined that she would save this one child, and she did. The accompanying free resources on the project website, thinedgethewedge.com, include questions for students to discuss about speaking up now against all hate, against bullying, against anti-Semitism. So it brings this historical project into the present. Now, how would that work in the context of languages that you're teaching? So here are some examples. For example, in Spanish class, Russian class, French class, and German class, respectively. In Spanish class, you could talk about the expulsion of the Jews from Spain in 1492 by Isabel and Ferdinand. In Russian class, the Russian repression of the Jews under the Tsars. In French class, the French collaborators with the Nazis during World War II, as well as the French resistors. And of course, in German class, you could talk about the Nazis and their Eastern European extermination collaborators that resulted in the Holocaust. And this would give you a chance to incorporate into your own language classes historic anti-Semitism leading up to the Holocaust and what resulted. Again, I hope that you will explore the free resources at thinedgeofthewedge.com, and you may email me at pzmiller@gmail.com for a copy of the play in English or German. And now, here to discuss how these free resources may be used in your class is director and actor Judd Angel, who is a very enthusiastic supporter of the Thin Edge of the Wedge project. He recently completed the filming of a lead role in the upcoming movie Green Hat, and he is a respected mediator with the State Bar of California, an entrepreneur, philanthropist, and a well-known DJ with a large international following. Judd is going to do a brief reading from the play, and then he will lead the discussion on how this free play and its accompanying free resources can be used in your class curriculum. I hope you will enjoy discussing this with him. Thank you.